Thank you for coming tonight. I really appreciate you guys showing up. With the help of Jesus and our spiritual friends, we are going to talk tonight about prejudice, why we still have prejudice. And I think I was having trouble to think about the subject for this speech until last week. And then we had some discussions about this election and that's going on. And there's a lot of prejudice going around the country lately. And I thought, so maybe we should talk about this, that would be a good subject for us to clarify, to get some better ideas and see. Maybe it's going to be a very, very good subject to talk right now. And that's what I'm trying to do. In 1893, a lawyer, an Indian lawyer named Mohandas Gandhi, which later on was known as Mahatma Gandhi, he was working in South Africa for an Indian company. And he bought he went to a train, he bought a first class ticket to the train. And he sat down in his place, and later the conductor came and he said, "You have to leave because you are not white." And he was, "No, but I have a first class ticket, I bought it, so you guys sold me. I'm a lawyer, I know my rights. If I have the ticket, I'm entitled to sit down here." And then the conductor just grabbed him and threw him off the train. Some time later, he was sitting on the coach, on the train again, and the conductor came to him and said, "Okay, we have this, the train is full, and we have this white person that doesn't have a seat, so you have to stand up and give your seat to him." And he said, "No, I know my rights, you can't do that, just because I'm not white." And the conductor beat him until he left the place. So Mohandas Gandhi, he was everybody knows him, he's a very famous person, very enlightened person. And what happened to him that day, like it was really important, made a big difference in his life. And later on, he started fighting for the Indian workers that were in South Africa back then. He made many difference for their lives. He fought prejudice in South Africa. And some years later, he came back to India, and we know he fought against prejudice and against England. And India today is free because a great amount because of him, because of his fight. And he did a peaceful fight against England. It was completely peaceful. There was never any violence from their part. And he won, and it was very impressive, especially if you talk that was 1940, it was a long time ago. Jesus, it's another person that fought against prejudice. The first lesson he taught us against prejudice was when he was born. So we know, as a Spiritist, we know he picked the family and the place where he was going to be born, right? And he picked a very simple family, very humble family. They didn't have lots of possessions. He could have gotten a family in a castle or with lots of facilities for him, lots of making his life easier, but he didn't do it. It was the first lesson against prejudice, that I'm going to get a simple family, and it's the same for me. It doesn't make any difference for me. And he was born in a stable on a winter night, cold night. There was not even a place for his mother that was pregnant. There was no house for her, so he had to be born in a stable. It's a big lesson. That was the first lesson he gave to us. Later on, he gave many more lessons. He picked as one of his apostles, Matthew. He was a publican. It was like a tax collector. So tax collectors were not discriminated in Israel. They are plainly hated. They hated them back then. And he got one of them as his apostle, which was a big gesture. Like it doesn't matter what his guy has been doing before. He's a good person. He's gonna be with me. And then when he went to Jericho, he found Zacchaeus, which was a short guy, and he wanted to see Jesus, and he was also a publican. And Zacchaeus, he went to a tree, and Jesus saw him, and he asked Zacchaeus to lodge him and his apostles in his house, which was very. There was a lot of the whole city was, oh my God, this saint man Jesus is being lodged on a publican's house. So it was really big against prejudice again. Jesus also there is a parable, the Samaritan parable. The Samaritans they are not considered Jews. There was a lot of prejudice from the Jews against the Samaritans. And Jesus said a parable about someone that was hurt on the way, on the side, and the rabbi saw the guy, he was hurt, and did not help him. But then the Samaritan, which was the people they didn't like him, the Jews didn't like him, the Samaritan helped him. So everybody knows the parable of the Samaritan. And last but not least, he was one of the very few masters that accepted women as followers. He had Mary and Martha, the sisters of Lazarus, which was a big friend of him. They were his followers. And Mary of Magdala, also, she was a woman, and she was a prostitute, former prostitute. It was a big lesson that he gave against prejudice. He accepted her. She's now a different person. She wants to follow the laws of God, and it doesn't matter what she was before. And it was another one. We have many lessons from Jesus, from big names against prejudice. And what is prejudice? So it comes from the Latin prejudicium, which means prejudgment. And the dictionary, you see, is like an unfavorable opinion of or feeling formed beforehand or without knowledge, thought, or reason. So we have a feeling against or someone or opinion without knowledge, thought, or reason. There's nothing backing it up. Nothing, really nothing. This is very important to know. On the Book of Spirits, question 803, they talk about the laws of equality. It's one of the moral laws. And they say, for God, all men are equal. All human beings are equal. If there is any difference, is caused by man. So that's how God sees us, and that's how Jesus used to see us, and that's how Gandhi used to see us, and many other people. And that's how we should strive to be. That's what we should do. That's how mankind will be one day. We are going to be on earth like this one day. We already improved a lot. Now I would like to do an exercise with you guys. I would like to see, talk about what types of prejudice there is. So I'm going to start with the easy ones, like race, color, sexual orientation, gender, religion. These are the easy ones, right? I guess these are the stronger ones. Age. Anybody else, please go ahead. Actually, if you guys have any questions, please, you can interrupt anytime, it's fine.
Your political opinion.
Political opinion? Or, yeah, political affiliation?
Nationality.
Nationality?
Social class.
Yep.
Appearance.
Mm-hmm. I have a big list here, guys.
Ethnicity?
Huh?
Ethnicity?
Ethnicity, yes.
Education.
Education.
Profession.
Profession, yes. It has to be with maybe the class, but why not?
Background, I think background would be included in some.
Yeah, background is too broad, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a bit
too
more
broad.
specific.
Do you have more?
Yeah. I have like 20, I guess.
Oh my goodness.
So you guys are done, and if you guys remember, if you guys have anything else, please can interrupt me.
Oh, handicap.
Handicap, yes. That's one.
Yeah, disability.
So that would be mental or physical, right? There's both. Illness like AIDS, for instance, some illnesses.
And also, for example, somebody could discriminate against autism, for example. So
Autism, yeah, that would be, right. I would put on handicap, mental, physical. Divorced people, they suffer some sort of, yeah, like,
They used to, right?
yeah.
I don't know,
it's-
I'm so sure.
I know of some people that still have it. Yeah. We are in the Bible.
marital status.
We still have it. Still happens. Education. If you have been to jail, you're an ex-convict.
Background.
That's background.
I
Okay.
Background
I
is
don't
like
know.
that.
That's criminal background, right?
Yeah, criminal background.
Country of origin too. So like in what?
Nationality.
Yeah, that's national, but even different regions they have something. In Brazil we have like north and south stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
Here in the election we just have like one candidate was talking that the other one has New York values, as if it was a bad thing. So-
That would be
Right.
Regionalismo. Yeah, regionalismo.
Regional, yeah. What we that is appearance, what we wear, clothing we're wearing. Oh, that's too short. That's
I would say appearance, right?
appearance maybe.
Yeah, appearance could be physical too, right?
Physical.
Yeah, I mean,
Could be physical or could be like what sort of.
Like guys with long hair, you know? Guys with
I
long
was going. I have here haircuts.
Tattoo.
you know,
Haircut
or too
tattoos,
much,
yeah.
yeah,
Being poor or
small.
Yeah, we have that class, social class. There is one. There is a prejudice that is. Spiritism has suffers. There is one kind of prejudice, the academic prejudice.
education.
No, it's different. It's almost there. It's academic. Like there is scientists. They avoid to study occultism or things like they don't. They cannot measure. Yeah, they cannot measure. So there is some this academic. So if a scientist like Kardec, if a scientist study this, people don't take them seriously.
Yeah.
So it's academic prejudice.
Mais ou menos skepticism.
It's more academic. Like there is establishment, scientific establishment, and they control science, and they don't want people to. They don't take them seriously. And to education, that's it. That's what I have. So it's a big list. And probably there is more than that.
The person who wants to
more
something.
items to put in this.
That's my point. Yeah. So it's hard for you not to be on this list. It's really hard, right? I guess we can say that my point being like many the people that suffer discrimination is not a minority. It's a lot of people, right? It's a lot of people. And what causes prejudice? Of course, we know in Spiritism we know that behind every problem there is selfishness. There is pride. So we have here selfishness, pride. Selfishness, one example, like America has been always welcome of immigrants. And in the 1840s, there was an Irish immigration, big one. So there was a lot of Irish people coming to the US. And because some people were selfish, they were afraid that they have like the society done, and some people were already in the top positions, and there was a lot of immigrants coming. They didn't want, they felt threatened that they would lose the privilege, so they started to do a smear campaign about the Irish immigrants back then. And it was really tough. I remember I went to Chicago a few months ago, and Chicago had a big fire in 1870, so the whole downtown went down. There was a big fire. It was now they have to reconstruct the whole city again. And there was a campaign from the press against the Irish. They said that the Irish immigrants they set Chicago on fire. There is still today there is a children's song. They talk about the O'Leary couple that they set Chicago on fire. There is still today. And later on they figure out this was just there was no fundamental there. So it was hard. So there was it was caused by selfishness, because people in power didn't want the society to change that much. They're afraid. They didn't want to share USA with newcomers. It's one example out of many. Pride, when people they feel superior. They just feel superior to I'm better than someone. Someone is inferior because then I make my list where I'm gonna pick one, like you said, right? So I'm gonna find something to tell me why I'm superior and the other are inferior. Ignorance. Ignorance is some people they can learn it. When we are born, we are not we don't have prejudice. We are kids. We learn it later on from parents, from friends, from where we live. We're going to learn it. So if you never challenge the beliefs that we acquire when we're kids, and we learn some prejudice, that's ignorance. It's a prejudice caused by ignorance, because we never challenge it. And we keep believing it. We never think about that, why we have this. Remember that the prejudice is without knowledge, thought, or reason. So we never think about that. We just know it without challenging. And intolerance. So some people are different. And not everybody has a right to be different. Right? That's a good thing about mankind, that we have different people and they think different. That's a strength of mankind. But some people, they don't see it as a strength. They just don't like it. People are different. They do things differently. And some people don't like it. And that's only 4 that I got. Maybe there's more. And why is it bad? Why prejudice is bad? So first of all, it's against God's laws. Like I said, there's the law of equality that we go against it. So if it's against a divine law, it can't be good, right? If we're having a behavior that God doesn't approve. That also facilitates bullying behavior from people. So every bully likes to get some form of prejudice to hurt someone, right? Sometimes even inside the families we have prejudice. I have also watched some documentary about prejudice, and they have like two cases that it was really interesting for me. So many families, they have one person that is homosexual in the family, and then when they, I have a friend that he never said, like his mother doesn't know he's homosexual, his brother doesn't know it, he never tell them because he's afraid of the consequence, how they're going to treat him. And actually, the family knows, but they don't want to know, you know. They're just denied, yes. Which made that's a bad thing for the relationship that between them, right? They are hiding stuff. And the other families, they are even worse than that. They are not going to accept. Like normally, the father is not going to accept my son is homosexual or something like that. There is a lot of it still going on. And another case that was interesting for me was a girl. She was like overweight since she was very young, and every Easter they would give chocolate for all the siblings, but not to her because they didn't want her to put on more weight. And now she's an adult, and then she was saying, "Oh my God, that hurt me so much. That was so bad. Today I was it would take me days to get over that thing." So sometimes even families they hurt us for prejudice. It could happen. Also, prejudice handicaps the self-esteem of people, right? That's not good for anybody. So of course that's obvious. Inhibits the inclusion. It's hard for a person to feel included in society. So sometimes you can have people that have a lot of talents. They can be very skillful people, but because of they are discriminated, it's harder for them to contribute to society as much as they can. Imagine if, like Stephen Hawking, which is in a wheelchair, if we had prejudice against this guy, he gave so many contributions to the physics, right? And it would be really, as mankind would lose a lot with that. And maybe we have other people like that are very talented that they can achieve their full potential because of discrimination. Prejudice is passed on from generation to generation. Like I said, kids they don't have discrimination. They don't discriminate. They don't do it. So they have to learn it. And some examples. There are some old examples in our society that keep making people discriminate. In the Old Testament, we can go to Adam and Eve story. So Eve was created from Adam's ribs. Okay, so woman depends on man, right? That's the message that's going out. And then later on, Eve talked Adam to bite the apple, and because of her, then we all got kicked out from the paradise. So women, again, they are the evil. The evil, right? So this is
Wise lesson.
not the best place. I think we're minority. Well, so it's some examples, right? And this is an old story. It's been around for a long time, teaching us bad stuff. In the Bible, Old and New Testament, there is a lot of things about homosexualism. So they don't. It's not according to the Bible. It's not a good thing. We have to put that in perspective. As Spiritists, we know that everything that was taught in the Bible and even the New Testament, it's old. We know that we evolve. Mankind evolves. Even in one generation, we can learn new things. in Spiritism we think we reached the point that this is not, we cannot tell people that this is a wrongful behavior. We have to accept that that's their choice. They are doing their choice. And we have to respect, and we should love these people and treat them equally. That's how Spiritists believe. Because things change. Back then, it's interesting that like maybe 2,000 years ago, Paul wrote something against homosexuality, but it was hard for a man back then to think different. But a man like Jesus back then, he would probably think differently. Yeah, go ahead.
On the Old Testament, they said that you cannot talk to the spirits either.
Right.
And here we are.
Yeah.
On the New Testament, Paul said that the women shouldn't cut their hair. And
Yeah,
the ladies
yeah.
are always at Nano and Nira, so things change.
Yeah,
Right?
things change. Things change. We are. Kardec says that we should always use our reasoning and common sense, right? And that's so. Thankfully we are in a better place now in this question of homosexuality. And like the same thing about let me give another example: slavery. And the example I give is like let's go back to when this country was founded by the founding fathers. Principal, these guys were the main drivers of it. These guys were really ahead of their time. They are morally strong and very intellectually strong, very role models until today for this country. However, most of them they had slaves. It was acceptable behavior. So even we have always my point being, we have to put in perspective a person that has a set of beliefs that is considered good in one point of life, or on the mankind, on the point of history. At some point, some behaviors they may not be acceptable anymore. So 100 years later, this culture did not accept slavery anymore. They changed. And these guys, they are still good people. They did a very good job. For their time, they were like really role models. And they still are. It doesn't diminish them because they had slaves back then, because that time was acceptable. But so we have to put in a context everything. There's a historic context. If you allow me to share some, like sometimes I share some personal experience that I have. It's not because I like to talk about myself. Although I like to talk about myself, it's because I want to make this more like real. And I have some, like when I was, just want to share with you guys some stuff. When I was a kid, there was some stuff that I learned from my parents that made me think about prejudice. I learned prejudice with them. Even though my parents want the best for me, they did it. That was the best they could do. So, for instance, if I was going to cry and I'm a guy, and then I was crying when I was young, then my father would come, you should not cry, that's a little girl stuff. So I would learn, first, guys don't cry. Second, it's a weakness to cry. Only little girls can do it, and it's a weakness. They are weak. There is more. Sometimes I would have like a camping of gypsy. Gypsy were camping around our city, our small town, and the parents would go crazy. They would be afraid that they would steal the kids, right? And then they do the one like,
and they rob you too.
They rob you, and they would say stuff like, the intent was, don't talk to strangers or something like that. So be careful, be extra careful. But it's just prejudice, right, against the gypsy. Also, in my small town, there was a homophobic environment. It was very strong. So I was raised in a 40,000 people town. It was a small town, right? 40,000. I don't remember having seen any homosexual in my city. 40,000. Of course, there were. Now, if you go there, there will be, but they are like afraid of showing up. So it was a very strong homophobic environment, which I learned, and I carried it for many years until I got rid of this prejudice. So just to tell you guys, it's a learn. We learn, and as soon as we get in touch with it, then we can get rid of it, right? As soon as we start challenging our prejudices, then we are going to get rid of it. And the way it works, like there is a change that we do ourselves, or we change our friends, we try to talk our friends into getting rid of the discrimination, don't do it anymore. And then later on there will be enough people in the society that will change laws, that will change behaviors. So it is an up-down thing. First the society change, first people change, and then there is enough people in society that will make the society change. That's the case for slavery, for instance. That's how it happened here. Now, since there is so many reasons for discrimination, how I can deal with it? How, if I'm a victim of discrimination, any kind of discrimination, how can I deal with that to not get hurt? And it's really about tolerance. We have to tolerate this. We know that as a spiritist, it's easier for us because we know we live in a planet that is trials and expiations. It's not like very evolved, and we know that there is still many problems, big problems here. So it's expected when we are we decide to reincarnate here. I think it's expected we could go through this kind of things once in a while. We have to. I suggest that we think that we are victims. If we are victims of discrimination, we are victims. We are not wrong. We are completely right. We're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with us. The other party is the wrong one. He or her is doing something wrong. And we should be actually sad for this person. We should be thinking that this person is hurting him or herself more than it's hurting us. Because we believe in reincarnation, we believe in the laws of cause and effect. We know that this person is hurting him or herself. There will be consequences of it. So we should take the high road always. Unfortunately, like in every country, and there is no safe place on earth. Some countries there is more prejudice, some countries there's less, but there is always everywhere. And how to fight the prejudice. Like I said, prejudice goes. We change first people. We have to change people, and then people. There will be enough people that goes against the prejudice, and then they will change laws and behavior. So one good thing that we have here is the politically correct discourse that we have today, and we should strive to do it because it's a way for us to talk about anything we want without hurting any feelings, right? It's a good thing. Today there is some people saying that this is not a good thing, but what I'm saying that politically correct speaking, it's a good thing. We should keep doing it. We should make it part of our daily speeches when we talk to someone. We should always think about that and keep doing it. It is a really good thing. We are not hurting anyone. We learn with the spirits that it's very important what comes out of our mouth, what we say. Our words are very important. We should avoid to say anything that hurts someone at all times. We learn that as a spiritist. So politically correct speaking is a good thing. We should do it. Other thing we can do is educate our kids, right? Do not have the prejudice that we learn. Do not pass it for the next generation. Don't do it. Be mindful of anything that we learn that should not go to the next generation. Like the things I learned from my parents, I'm not going to go put it to my kids.
Teach tolerance.
Teach tolerance, yeah. Teach how, maybe teach them why it's bad, right? Why prejudice is bad. If we can do even, we don't pass along what we learn, and we teach them tolerance and other things, so they don't learn with others, true, right?
But if
I
we,
always examples too.
To example.
Yeah.
if we say tolerance, we are already thinking, I tolerate differences. But if I embrace the difference,
That's a better step.
like for example, you said that the kids do not discriminate. So imagine a little 2-year-old is white, and then he saw somebody with a different skin. Then he goes to his mom and says, why is the guy is different from me? And then depending on what the mom is going to say, it's going to change everything.
Mm-hmm. Right?
She will say, oh, because, highlighting the difference or putting down.
Mm-hmm.
Everything starts in this
Well,
possibility.
and this, like you're saying, I think I see for my kids that they're getting older, and they get older, they're more like social influenced, and so they start having, among peers, a little prejudice, and I think, like you said, like even if it is to tolerate. I told the other day I was talking to my son, and I told him like, be politically correct, even if you don't feel like it's your, how do I say, like if you don't feel like embracing it, the difference, or it's okay, but at least you can practice like being tolerant.
Yeah,
And it's just like it's like for us. I think if you speak politically correct, like you're saying, it's like you're practicing, and then little by little you'll get it, and,
Yes.
and it's like educating yourself.
Educate
And for the
yourself.
kids, it's the same.
It's an exercise, right?
It's exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get in an age that sometimes not the prejudice doesn't come from the parents. But it's just like the fear of being different among peers, and they start being like social awareness, and I think I told my son the other day, like, even if you don't feel like embracing the difference, but just tolerate, respect. Yeah, respect. That's the
tell
word.
him people are beautiful as they are.
Yeah.
Different.
But I mean, I
Different
cannot
hair,
force him.
different height.
He's already forming his personality. I can educate and I can tell him, but it's respect. It's what it's an exercise.
Yeah.
And
And it's important.
That's the minimum.
It's important also to tolerate the person that is doing the discrimination. And that's hard. Yeah. If you are the victim of discrimination and someone is discriminating yourself, we have to be. That's give the other cheek, right? That's what Jesus will do. It's like we should tolerate this person. We should maybe try to understand where it's coming from. He's not right. I'm not saying he's right. He or her is right, but we should try to understand that this is still we still have it in the on earth, and it's maybe we should. The best way if you want to fight, it's to tolerate. And I'm gonna tell you more stuff about this later on, but that's part of it. And that's the hard lesson.
To force yourself.
We have to figure out, like, okay, this person is wrong. That's what I said. This person, I'm not wrong. There's nothing wrong with me if I'm a victim of prejudice and discrimination. That person has work to do. And this way, maybe it's easier to tolerate it. He's hurting himself. he's doing something that's going to be hard for him, and if he throws me if he throws me injury or something, I don't have to pick it up, right? He throws it to me, but he just let it go. I don't have to accept it. It's up to me to accept it or not.
And prejudice also is not something only to the external. I mean, there's self-prejudice, right? Self-image that has, a lot of the psychiatric issues, depression, anxiety, has to do with self-image and self-prejudice, because they don't think it might be, and I don't know,
They start
if you've ever
believing-
met somebody who's depressed, they can come from a beautiful family, a beautiful person, physically, and all this stuff, but they feel less. It's self-prejudice. They think
But
they're
then
less
it's
than other people.
self-esteem and self-confidence.
Self-esteem.
It comes together. It's all sort of the
I
same
think
thing.
it's self.
It can be. It can be for social, So somebody who was born as a slave, they always think they're less, and that sometimes
Mhm.
can influence their behavior because of self-engraving.
So that's a good point. And, so going back to how to fight prejudice. I found two books, Atendimento Fraterno and Book of Mediums. They have they teach us how to deal with a person that has prejudice. And I'm not going to read it, just going to try to explain. So let's say there is someone in our family or some friend or someone I can talk to, at least can talk to, and then figure out this person has some sort of prejudice. How first question, should I do something about that? And the answer is yes. It's a question of charity, right? If the person is wrong and we know it and we can help, we should try. As a Christian, we should do it. So we should try to help. And then second, how to help this person. So first question is this person, can we have an objective conversation with this person about this subject? And if the answer is yes, which is normally it's not, unfortunately, but if it is yes, then we are good. So we can talk about what we have in this speech, for instance, and discuss this, and people will see why it's not a good thing and why prejudice is not a good thing for anybody. And then we can have an objective conversation. But unfortunately, that's not common. So normally persons with prejudice, they are very hard to change. They are really hard to change. And even people that are against prejudice, sometimes they are so upset about prejudice that they also get heated. So then going to the Spiritist teachings, if you are going to be upset in this conversation, don't do it, because you're making more harm. If you cannot be really cool talking in a productive way, don't do it. Don't even start it. So you have to be aware that you're going to be cool. So if we're going to have a discussion about Flamengo and Vasco, and then Flamengo, and then that's not even started, because that's not going to work.
Another one to put on your list.
The soccer team, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not a course we have started. Now, so you have to be really, you have to know that you are going to be cool during this conversation. They say there's this stage. They say like if you want to be heard, you cannot be confrontational. If you want to talk about prejudice to someone, if you want to be heard, don't be confrontational. It's the sure thing that people are not going to listen to you. So what they say is like, first, if you want to do it, try to understand the person, why it's coming from. So try to be in his shoes, try to ask questions, try to understand, try to level, and then try to put yourself in his shoes. And then you have to, little by little, it's a process. If you want to change some prejudice, normally it's a process, it's a long-term process. You have to talk to the person and give him another idea and another idea and another idea every day or every week or every time you have a chance. But you have to be slowly. It's like if there is a guy that is in a cave where it's dark, and then you bring him to the Texas midday sun, he's going to be, you can't deal with that. He's going to go back to the cave. So you have to bring him little by little. It's very slowly, and so the person trusts you, and he's going to listen to you every time. And then one day you're gonna change his or her idea or belief. And this is I think it's for me it was a very good learning experience. I tend to be kind of confrontational sometimes, so for me it was really good. I'm gonna try to be different from now on. And last, we are going to talk about do I have prejudice or do I discriminate? How to figure out and how to fight it if I have it. Okay, it's a big list. Chances are most of us will have one or two, or I don't know, at some degree of this kind of stuff. Maybe it's possible that some of us they don't have any kind of prejudice, but it's possible that some of us have it at some kind of prejudice and at some level. So what the advice is how to figure out if you believe in reincarnation and action and reaction, we have to. It's very likely that if we do discriminate, we are going to be hurting ourselves. So at some point, we may, I'm not saying it will happen, but it may happen that in next life or even this life, we will be victims of discrimination. So that's a good reason why we should try to fight it in ourselves. And a way to figure out if you have it, it's I always say in almost all my speeches I talk about St. Augustine I think I said it 127 times already. I want to say 128 times now. There is a part in St. Augustine Book of Spirits. He says that there was one life that was really productive in terms of evolution. He evolved a lot that life. And what he did was every night he would go to bed and he would try to review his day. What he did, what he didn't do, if someone had reasons to complain of anything he did, and he would go and deep and he would pray and ask for help from his guardian angel, and he would go over the whole day and figure out if there was something he could have done better. And if he found something, then he would go deep and try to see what are the feelings driving him when he said or did something. And he was trying to improve his self-knowledge, right? That's it. It's a good exercise that you should do. And then if you do have any action with prejudice, we're going to figure out one day. We're going to see, I did that because of prejudice. And then that's step one. I think that's the harder one, because we are people that want to get rid of it anyway, right? We have the will. If we figure out we have something, then the rest is, I think, is going to be easier. And one more article I'd like to share with you guys. It's still on this part of fighting the prejudice. It's we can humanize a group. Like if, let's say, there's a group of people that we do have prejudice. Normally, we don't know this group. We really have no stereotype of it, and because of our prejudice, we don't try to get close to them, to this group. So if you try to be friends, find someone. Let's say I have a discrimination against homosexuals, and then if I find someone and then I make an effort to be friend of this person, and then I get to know him, and then I put a face on this group, so they're not homosexual anymore. This is my friend that has feelings, and I know him, and he's a good person, and that can help us to get rid of discrimination. It's a very good way to do it. And if I may share again with you guys, it's a story that from my life, the experience that I have, which that's where I came from. When I was, like I said, I was born in a small town, and I had some prejudice with homosexuals until I was like 28 years old or something like that. And then when I don't have it anymore, and that's why I don't do it anymore. I want to share it with you guys. So at some point, my ex-wife, now ex-wife, she was my wife back then. And one day she told me, okay, I have a friend that his name is Ricardo, and he's coming here to visit us for a month. He's going to be in our house. So is that okay? And then I said, okay, you're going to be hanging out with your your old friend Ricardo for a month, and I'm going to be working, and you guys hanging out the whole day. I don't know if I like this idea. I don't know, that I just joking with. But then the guy came there, and he was our guest, and I really received him very well. And in 1 hour talking to him, I could see the guy, he's gay. He was not trying to hide it, he's gay. And after so he stayed a month with us, it was a long time. And we became very good friends. Very good friends. So at some point he was talking to me about his, when he was a child, what happened when he started to be gay, and when he figured out he was gay. And the things he went through, the difficulties in his life, and we really shared a lot of things in common. And I really became, we were very good friends after that. And my prejudice became admiration. It just changed completely. So I just started admiring him. My God, this guy is so strong. He's happy. He's a good person. He doesn't do anything wrong. He just do good things. And he's good to stay around. It's just nice. We have good time together. We talk about anything, and he's a very good friend. And that changed completely my view of that. Erased completely my prejudice against homosexuals. And today I have, like I said, big admiration for any homosexual. It changed completely my view of things. And that's why I said that's a good way to deal with prejudice. Just put a human face. Normally the prejudice stays because we don't know anyone on that group. We don't know anyone. So if you try to know someone, that helps a lot. Like I said, according to God's laws, we are all equal, and we have to. This is the right thing. At some point, we are going to learn it. Then the earth's not going to be. We won't have any prejudice anymore. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Right.